Hey guys, my name is Alex. I'm a real estate investor, and I want to start making more of these videos to kind of share my experiences, my troubles, my the things I'm learning and stuff like that. And hopefully you guys can take something from this video and use that to propel yourself a little further down the path, a little faster than I was able to. So, without further ado, this is my first off-market property. The deal overview. This one was in Dubuque, Iowa. Like I said, got it off market. Um, Ended up buying it on a land contract, so been doing a lot of creative stuff lately. And then my exit on this deal was a rent-to-own lease option agreement. So how I found it, like I said, this is my first off-market deal. So to get those off-market deals, you need to have some sort of off-market lead generation. But the real basic outline of how to do that is, you get a list of people that may need your help, may want to sell a property, and then you just ask them if you can help. So the I can do maybe another video on some more in-depth stuff on how to get more off-market properties and off-market lead generation too, if you guys think that would be helpful. But yeah, so basically what I did here was I got a list of pretty much every vacant house in Dubuque, and then I cold called every single one of them. And there was a ton of people who were pissed and didn't hung up the phone or yelled at me or whatever. But I ended up buying a couple of deals off just that list and just hitting the dials, hitting the phone calls. So um, underwriting. So that's kind of how I found it. Here's how once I found it, I found a guy that you know may want to sell the property and he's open to it. So here is kind of how I decided that if it would be a good deal or not. So we had a spreadsheet, just a really basic one. It seems like every time I build one of these, it gets a little bit better, but they're still pretty primitive. But yeah, I try to run some numbers based on my total entry fee. So that's like how much money it takes me for the down payment, the renovations, the holding costs, like every single dollar until it starts becoming an income producing asset for me. So that's kind of the important thing you need to know, like rehab, closing costs, holding costs, down payment, that sort of stuff. And that kind of tells you how much money do you need to get into this deal. And then from there, um, the most important metric that I like to use is cash on cash return. So if I need to sink 10K into this property, 50K into this property, the amount of money I get back from that, as in like cash in my pocket, like not the other benefits of real estate, but cash in my pocket, it needs to be at a certain percentage for me to make sense. So because I need that cash back to keep growing this business. So this is how I underwrote it. Had some basic estimates on repairs and stuff like that. Purchase price, you can see, bought it at 85,000. I estimated that after we were done, it would be worth about 170. The renovation I was low on this, so every time going to be low, and you're going to think it is quicker than what actually it takes. But then here's a basic, just um, I guess income projection before we refinance. So yeah, like here, so underwriting, what we're planning on doing on this one. So we buy it, rehab it, rent it, refinance it, and then you take that money and you can repeat it. So this is a pretty cool strategy. So you can buy a property, and then like I said, we sunk probably a good amount in that with the renovation, and then from there we can actually refinance that. And now that we've sunk all that money into it, the property value has gone way up, and a banker will give us whatever it may be, depends on your banker, but they'll give us a large percentage of the new value of that property. So we can put some money into it, go refinance, pull all that capital back out tax free, and then we can use that capital again to go do it on another one. And that way you kind of like get a free house if you do the numbers right. So very cool strategy. There's definitely lots of pros and cons to that one too, but very solid strategy. Rehab costs, yeah, I mentioned, because it's always more. This one ended up being like closer to 50, maybe a little over 50. So lessons learned. You can kind of see the condition of this one. This one was beat up. So I mean, it had been sitting vacant. Some college kids basically figured out it was vacant, and that was the new party place. So trashed it. The yard hadn't been mowed in like 10 years, so it's like the woods. It was pretty rough, but yeah. So every window is broken out on the property. That there was everyone punched a hole in every drywall, ripped the sinks down, ripped the cabinets down. You can see one of the cabinets sitting there on the floor, carpet in the kitchen, but she needed some work. So, yep. So negotiations. So after I found it, ran my numbers, kind of seeing where I need to be here. Ended up it wasn't really a good deal for me cash, but I ended up doing a land contract with him that made sense for both of us. And what we negotiated there was a 10% down payment, 0% interest, 500 monthly payments, and a 2-year term. And the cool thing that I really like about land contracts is the flexibility in them. On a cash deal, it's literally the only negotiating thing, pretty much. It's you want this price, I want this price. It's like, okay, that's all we got. But on a land contract or more creative stuff, that's you can just be so much more creative and fit both parties' needs. So I was able to actually come up on purchase price because he gave me some other terms that really made sense for me. He gave me a lower down payment. Typically a bank will want 20, so 10 is good. But I could have done better there. I think the good thing here on this deal was it's a 0% interest deal. So every single payment I make to him just goes towards straight principal, and that's going to pull my balance down so much quicker than if there was even a small interest rate. So I kind of had a mortgage calculator here. Like this is if it was on a 30-year. At the end of that 2 years. So here's the first 2 years. If there was an interest rate involved, these columns here, these lighter blue, that's actually just interest. So you barely pay down any principal unless you do a 0% interest. Then obviously this whole thing is principal pay down. So that really helps me accelerate my equity position in the deal at the end of that 2-year term. So yeah, I mean, some stuff I would have done better. Like I said, nowadays I would have gone for less money down with a house that needs that much work, because typically a large reason they want a big down payment is to protect themselves in case you trash the house and give it back to them, right? But there was nothing I could do to this house to to make it in worse condition than it already was, and it needed a ton of work. So nowadays I probably would have went for zero down as well. In the term length, this was a 2-year term. I knew I was gonna want that money back from the renovation, so I knew I was gonna do a refinance or sell shortly after. So I was okay with that 2-year term, but typically I like the longer term financing the better. But again, on something that needed this much work and I knew I was going to refinance immediately, the 2-year term is totally fine. And everyone asks me this, why would someone sell to you on a land contract? And I don't know, I guess people don't understand the benefits, but he can get a higher sales price, so I could pay more than anyone else could pay cash if we were doing it that way. He's going to get less in capital gains taxes if he spreads that income out over time. He's going to pay much less in capital gains, and he was motivated to sell. It was a vacant property; it wasn't doing anything for him. It was just kind of a liability, and he was paying taxes on it. So he was motivated to sell. So we were able to work it out. How I funded it too. So this had a pretty big entry fee. Like I said, it's got the 10,000 down. It's got the big rehab budget and pretty minor closing costs and stuff. But that's a big chunk of capital. So I did not have that. But I was able to actually bring in a partner. So just kind of structured it in a way that makes sense. So I brought the deal. I had the management, and he had the money. So yeah, that's what I wrote down here. There's 3 parts to every deal. So the deal itself, the management, and the money. So I brought those 2 pieces. He brought that one piece, and we just structured it in a way that it made sense. He had a return he was happy with, and yeah, and everybody wins. Renovation. Can I see here? Yeah. So this is just the spreadsheet that I was showing you guys before too. Um, I wanted to show you how we tracked our expenses and stuff. So like literally every single dollar we track, when it was paid, who paid for it, the date, a brief description so we can go back and find the receipt and stuff. And so we got renovation, holding costs, other stuff there. So there's some before and afters too. Here's some more. Show you some good condition pictures. Here's the after, before. Here's one of the bathrooms. This is nice. Yeah. So it did quite a bit. The exit strategy on this deal, like I said, was a burr. So we bought it, we renovated it, we rented it out, and now we're still in that 2 year period where we get 0% interest. So I'm going to drag that out. But at the end of that 2 years, we'll refinance that, and then we'll pull a big old chunk of capital out, and we can go do it again. Um, and also signed a rent to own agreement on this property too. So we sold it on a lease option where they come in, they bring a large, pretty large chunk of money for your option fee, and that gives them the exclusive rights to buy the property for the next X years or something like that, and gives them some stability there. So I really like that because you get a higher quality tenant and you get a good chunk of money up front that helps you again, accelerate this process because a lot of times the biggest restrictor is your access to capital. So that definitely helps get a little bit of money back on that renovation. Lessons learned. Off market. So I don't want to say on market's junk or there's no deals on market. That's definitely not true. But I think I definitely do prefer off market. There's just less people negotiating with me. I'm fighting less other buyers. Um, these people are motivated. There's a reason that's not on the market. A lot of times they don't want to deal with showings or have realtors try to, whatever, pressure them to do some work to the property. I'm not saying all realtors do that, but that's a thought a lot of people have. So a lot of people do want to, sell their property. It's a pain point for them, and a lot of people need help. So I'm trying to help them. Renovation, definitely always lessons learned. Every single renovation goes over budget and over time. Also learned a ton about managing contractors and stuff. Getting stuff in writing. That's super important. Also laying out your expectations up front about all the work that's going to be completed and being super clear to them about what you want. So what you shouldn't do is take a contractor and just walk the property and just be like, yeah, man, can you like fix this place up? Like, just be very specific. I want this flooring in this room and XYZ. Don't be like, hey man, what would you do here? Like it just makes it so much more difficult for them to quote it and bid it. And you're more difficult to work with when you do that. So and also it was a big mindset shift for me too, this property. So you don't actually need literally any money to go get into real estate. The main thing you actually need is effort. And that was kind of a limiting belief of myself in the past. I could get into properties for pretty low amounts of money with good loans and stuff like that, but that's actually all pretty unnecessary. There are situations where I'll definitely do that in the future, but right now I'm mostly focusing on trying to buy stuff without my own capital or as little as possible. So I got some more before and afters here. Is that gonna work? Here's some more befores, so you guys can get a good idea. She was rough. Probably going too fast. Had trees growing into the side of the property. The concrete was all messed up. It's pretty ugly. Windows, I actually boarded a lot of those up. They were just literally open. And then when I tried to get insurance on the place, they're like, you got to board those. But yeah, that gives you a pretty good idea of the condition. Had a great view though. That view is awesome. Try to get you some better afters. Again, got the view, got the yard cleaned up, got the deck redone, stained and everything. Cleaned up the bathrooms, the flooring, redid all this. Put every single new window in, jammed them out, painted the place, redid all the trim. Got a cool little video here of the sunset. Yeah, I mean, it was a big project. It was a lot of fun. Definitely enjoyed doing it. So, but yeah, I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you learned something. If so, let me know. And let me know what else you'd like to see in the future too. If you guys want to see more lead generation videos, more project videos, yeah, definitely let me know.